the differences. Like one of the things, engineering background is something that's emphasized for people that are working in the Chinese government. Is that right? Like, is there a lot of people with engineering backgrounds that work in the government in China that support more adoption in terms of, AI and advancements in technology?
I'm not an expert on the demographics of government officials. Obviously, there have been a few top level leaders that have had engineering degrees. So certainly a degree that's highly respected. If your question more about why does the Chinese government emphasize tech so much, I think the number one reason that we're in the fourth industrial revolution is, and China kind of missed out on the first and the second and a little bit of the third, right? The first was the steam engine, the UK's rise to the top. Second was electricity and other things. US rose to the top. Third, the US led the world again in PC and internet. China caught a little bit of that and got a good taste of it's good to have control your own destiny. So now at the fourth industrial revolution, which is AI automation, I think China feels like missing out the first three has caused China to pay a dear price of becoming. China did quite well having missed the three revolutions, right? Being the outsourcing factory of the world was not a bad outcome. It's the envy of the developing countries, of course, but still it became clear there would be the big winners would be those who are leading in technology and not only inventing them, but putting them to good use, first use. That I think is a very pervasive understanding in the Chinese government that we should not miss out, and it's important. And that's why there are these policies and basically promoting technologies and for kids to study science, etc.
Can you explain to people what 996 means for people that, or 997 rather, I guess, in many startups in China?
Yeah, in the early phases, the entrepreneurs encouraged a hardworking environment because people were striving for success and are willing to work hard. So 996 means working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Although that is a little bit frowned upon in China now.
You know that?
Yeah, I think the society is saying, wait a minute, this group of entrepreneurs are pushing people too hard. There have been sudden deaths, heart attacks, and I think there are some efforts in the media and government messaging that pushing people this hard may not be good for their well-being. We'll see how it works out, but certainly it's an element that has driven the environment for the last 30 plus years, which after China opened up.
What are the things that they're doing to reduce these number of hours? Because 996 is like 9 a.m., 9 p.m., 6 days a week, but 997, which is 7 days a week, was also very common back in the day. Are they just are they adopting like 995 or 965 to make that like a cultural thing in China?
Yeah, roughly. For example, in some large internet companies that used to require working 6 days every other week, is now going to 5 days every week. So that would be a change in this direction.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like the younger generation is a little bit, falling behind in that sense?
Well, I think millennials globally are a little bit similar. China's getting wealthier. So I think the middle class is growing, and there are more people in the millennials born into well-to-do families or middle class. And I think they want the same things as other millennials. So I think, so as I mentioned, this 996 tenacity, a hunger for success would eventually fade away as the country becomes wealthier.
Right. And I guess like nowadays people can see what other people across the country and what their lifestyle is, and kind of there's this global culture, right? Although obviously everyone has his own independent culture, but with the information age, everyone is so connected that I would imagine people are just learning to adapt to how other millennials are going through here in this case.
Right. I think, what defines millennials throughout the world is that they have their own voice and own ways of doing things, and they don't conform, and they don't listen to a message and say, that's what I want to be too. And that's individualism at a certain level. And I think the 20 years ago, I think people would say, hey, then you'll succeed. So work incredibly hard, and people just listen. But nowadays, I don't think people do that, not just in China, but perhaps globally.
Got it.